Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on any purchase over $10. See the description below for details. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to this special edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch, where we're going to check in on Ultimate Masters price trends now that the set has been out for almost 3 weeks. Quickly before we get started though, just a fast reminder, if you check out the description below, you'll find a few ways to support the channel. Our Patreon page is down there. You'll also find links to products on Amazon down there. And finally, Flipside Gaming still offering a promo code for our viewers. These are all ways to help support what we do here and keep us making videos, but as always, thank you not only to the folks that look at those links, but to each and every one of you. Your viewership is enough for me, and let's get into today's information. Alright, we'll begin with the top 10 Ultimate Masters cards that have lost value this week. Things are starting to stabilize compared to last week, though. You're going to notice we're going to see some of those rare cards that were dropping heavily this week, just dropping a little bit. As a matter of fact, many of them have stabilized or even gone up in the last 24 or 48 hours. So I think now the second wave of cards is beginning to hit its rock bottom price. So these are some of the ones you'll want to pay attention to. Number 10, Back to Basics, goes down 39 cents to $19.90. This card is a good legacy card. Many times you'll find this in decks like Miracles and not always in the sideboard. This has been going down pretty aggressively since the set came out 3 weeks ago now, and it's finally starting to slow down. As a matter of fact, this has gone up in the last 24 hours or so. Number 9, Leovold, Emissary of Trest. Now this one is a mythic, and you're not going to see a lot of mythics losing value, especially as much value as this one is lost. But this week it goes down 40 cents to $10.57. The main reason this one has been as soft as it is because it's a good legacy and vintage card, but it is banned in Commander, so you don't have that extra group of folks trying to pick up the card. And with that, this card actually got very, very affordable if you were looking to pick it up. It also is stabilized in the last 24-48 hours. Number 8 is Dark Depths, going down 41 cents to $28.43. Another mythic on the list and another card that is stabilizing over the last about 24-48 hours. This one is Commander legal, and it also sees play in legacy decks like Depths decks as well as the Lands deck. Number 7, Noble Hierarch, goes down 41 cents to $52.99. This card lost a little more value this week. It's still a pretty expensive card, though. It just sees play in so many places. Bant Spirits, Humans, Infect, and Modern are 3 of the big ones, but of course other decks too. You'll find this in legacy builds. Vintage Survival decks will sometimes run 4 of these in a certain build of that deck. So this is a card that has a lot of crossover appeal. Number 6 is Ruined Halo, down 44 cents to $5.31. This card continues to go down. It's been relatively stable over the last couple days, but I do think it could lose a little more value. Shop around if you want this card. You can find these for under $5 typically if you look in the right places. There's just not much of a demand for this card currently. You used to see play in the sideboards of some heavy white decks in Modern, like Mono White Martyr, for example. But those decks just aren't a big part of the meta right now, so there's not a lot of people looking for this card. It's very soft. The Shadowmoor version got super expensive, mostly because it had a little bit of Modern success in the past, and it's just hard to find Shadowmoor cards in good condition. They had a lower print run, as you know. So this is the first card on this list that I would say I would wait a little bit longer before I picked it up, just to see where the price goes. Number 5 is Containment Priest, going down 49 cents to $4.50. This does see sideboard play in Legacy and Vintage to deal with some of the shenanigans that go on in those two formats. Up until now, the card was a little bit expensive because, again, much like Ruined Halo, it was kind of hard to get a hold of. This card originally came from a Commander 2014 deck, and even though they do print a lot of those products, it's just not the same as if this was in a standard set, so that made the card harder to find, much like Ruined Halo in some ways. And because of that, the price crept up over the years. They did do a masterpiece of this card, but again, those are still hard to find and expensive as well. This printing was the first time that people could get their hands on the card in recent years for a more reasonable price. Number 4, Celestial Colonnade, goes down 49 cents to $23.68. I do think this one might go down a little bit more too before it stabilizes. Sees play in Modern Control builds, but again, if you're not playing a Modern Control deck, you might not necessarily need this card. It's still a cool Commander card, sure, but it's not a card you might need to go out there and pick up. Now, considering that the audience for this card is large, but maybe not as large as some of the other cards we're going to be talking about today, I could see this getting down closer to $20 before it settles down. Number 3 is Getting Teague, down 67 cents to $10.99. Another card that might go down just a little bit more. I wouldn't pull the trigger on this today. Give it a few more days, maybe a week or even 2 weeks, and just kind of see where it goes. Keep checking in on it. You might be able to find a slightly better deal. With that being said, though, this is a very solid card for modern sideboards like Humans and Hexproof. Legacy, you're going to find this many times in the main of 4-color Loam, and it sees play in other decks in those formats as well. Much like Ruined Halo, this card originally came from a set that didn't have a very high print run. In this case, it was a Lorwyn. Number 2 is Temporal Manipulation, down 98 cents to $23. Another mythic on our list today, and I do think this one will go down a little bit more too before it stabilizes. Now, this doesn't necessarily see as extensive play as many of the other cards that we're talking about in this video, but it is a cool commander card if you're looking for a redundancy to take an extra turn. Very similar to Time Warp. It doesn't target though, so it's slightly different, but very similar for all practical purposes. Also an interesting cube card, and much like some of the other cards we talked about on this list, the older versions are just kind of hard to find in good condition. This came from Portal Second Age. That was a really long time ago, and not a lot of people bought into that set compared to a regular standard set. And aside from that, you also had a Judge promo, but again, those can be expensive and hard to find too. So folks that wanted this card for a while, they want to pull the trigger on it. I would say don't spend $23 though, maybe closer to $20 is a better price. And if you shop around, you might find that now. Number 1, Engineered Explosives, goes down $1.05 to $31.59. This card was losing value before the reprint was announced just because percentage play was down a little bit, but don't underestimate this card. I do think it will come down a little bit more, maybe settle in somewhere in the mid-20s or so eventually, but it does see play in a lot of big decks, some legacy sideboards, a lot of modern sideboards, and the main deck of Ironworks combo in modern. Okay, let's move on to the top 10 Ultimate Masters cards that have gained value this week. So for the most part, you're going to see cards here that have already stabilized and have begun their climb upwards. Number 10, Vexing Devil, goes up 33 cents to $4.35. This one's kind of interesting because it is a rare. It's going up 33 cents, which isn't a whole lot. This could be some random stabilization in the market. I do think $4.35 is a little expensive to pay for this card. Actually, you can probably find it cheaper again if you shop around. But it's a weird card because I do think a lot of people have confidence that this card will find a home someday in Modern. But whenever it tries to, it never seems to really stick. I mean, recently I saw a Hollow One deck on Magic Online go 6-1 running 4 of these. But I don't see a whole lot of other people following suit with this card in Hollow One, at least not currently. We've seen other builds in the past of different decks trying to run this, and they've looked like maybe they would have success, and then they kind of disappeared. So I do think eventually this card does find something to do in Modern. It's just not today, and I want to overpay for this, in other words. Number 9, Balefire Dragon, goes up 38 cents to $5.39. This one's a mythic, and I think the price point just got cheap enough that Commander players thought, yeah, I'm going to pull the trigger right now. And that's something you're going to see actually a lot on this list, at least at the beginning portion. A lot of solid Commander cards already stabilizing, starting to creep up in value. This one, maybe you can find it still around $5 or so. I don't think it's a bad pickup to have in your collection, especially if you like to play a little Dragon Tribal. Number 8 is another Commander-centric mythic going up, Mikaeus the Unhallowed, up 46 cents to $15.99. We started seeing this one creep up last week, actually, and yeah, it does continue to go up this week, so I think this is the real deal. The card is going to continue its course upwards now. And it does make sense, because even though, sure, it's mainly a Commander or Cube card, it does cross over into a lot of decks. Any tribal deck that's non-human, basically, would like to have this if they're playing black. Number 7 is another kind of Commander-centric mythic with Mana Vault, going up 76 cents to $30.75. Now, this does see vintage play as well, but I do think it's the Commander scene driving the price point up on this one. Number 6, Demonic Tutor, up 79 cents to $25.78. Now, this one's a rare, but it has something in common with the last card. It sees vintage play, but again, I think the price is being driven by the Commander players. Okay, from this point forward, the rest of the cards on the list are mythics, beginning with number 5, Karn Liberated, going up $1.31 to $66.31. Keytron card in Modern, a very, very popular deck, of course. Number 4 is Emrakul Leon's Torn, going up $1.63 to $26.60. So this one's moving up quite a bit, even without the help of the Commander players, because of course this is banned in Commander, but it sees a lot of play in the competitive formats. Maybe most notably Legacy, Sneak and Show, and Omnitel decks, but you'll find this in through the Breach style decks in Modern. Also, this sees a little vintage play too. Number 3, Bitter Blossom, up $2.34 to $34.39. This card's really been moving. I think partially it's because of the really unique art on it, actually. Not everybody loves this art. I've heard a lot of people love it, a lot of people hate it. But I do think it's different, and different's always good, and is going to draw attention to it. So I think it's part of the reason you're seeing this card move at the rate it's moving. It is a mythic, of course, so it's got that going for it. And this is a card that doesn't see as much Modern play as it used to see, but it's seeing more Legacy play than it used to see. Many times you'll find this in some important decks like Golgari Wastes, even if it is out of the sideboard. Number 2, Liliana of the Veil, up $2.63 to $78.60, and I don't think she's going to stick around in the 70s very long. I do think a week or two from now she's going to be in the low 80s along with the other copies of this card, just simply because the art hasn't changed. I don't think people really care as long as they can get a copy to play with and to have in their collection, because it's a very iconic card. Some of the decks you'll find it in Modern include things like Golgari Midrange, Jund, sometimes the Hollow One builds, even if it is out of the sideboard, and others. Number 1, Cavern of Souls. What else? Up 285 to 65.95. Much like Liliana, this card was reprinted in Modern Masters 2017 as a Mythic, and both of those cards got reprinted now as a Mythic in Ultimate Masters. We saw a small price break for a short time on those cards, but again, they're both going up pretty aggressively now. The reason this card is moving at the rate it is because it has tremendous crossover appeal. If you like Tribal Magic, you'll probably want this card. It doesn't matter what format you play. Sure, it's in some really huge decks like Spirits or Humans in Modern, for example, but you can play this anywhere if you're playing Tribal. And that's our look at Ultimate Masters this week. Now, this will be the last week that I separate Ultimate Masters. Starting the following week, what we'll do is just put this in the regular Market Watch. Later this week, though, I am going to do a special edition of the Market Watch talking about some cards you might want to think about picking up. Many of them will be Ultimate Masters cards, but not all of them, so you might want to check that out. But until next time, please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page, as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.